Welcome back to Miss Mason Explains Descriptive Methods and Correlations Part 2. All right, so let's talk about correlations. So, a possible result of many of these descriptive studies is to find a correlation. Now, you guys have heard of correlations when you did statistics. Correlations are just an observation that two traits or an attribution are related to one another. So, they are correlated, all right? They're correlated. The scientific definition, all right, is a measure of how closely two factors vary together. So how well can you predict a change in one by observing a change in another, all right? Okay, so, boom. In a case study, this could be, sorry. In a case study, this could be the fewer hours the boy was allowed to sleep, the more episodes of aggression he displayed. So the less sleep the boy got, the more aggression he had. All right, in an observational definition, this would be displayed as children in a classroom who were dressed in heavier clothes were more likely to fall asleep than those wearing lighter clothes. Duh, they were hotter. Okay, and when you're warm, you fall asleep more. So we know, all right, correlation. And in the survey, the greater number of Facebook friends, the less time was spent studying. All right. Okay, so these are example of correlations in the three descriptive methods that we just discussed. Okay, so let's look at the correlation coefficient. What the correlation coefficient is going to tell us is the strength and direction of the correlation. And the strength refers to how close the dots are when you graph your data, okay, and you're going to put them in a scatter plot. Now, I hope everyone knows what a scatter plot is. So when you create these scatter plots, okay, you're going to see the dots, all right, the individual data points are going to create either the strength of it or the weakness. Okay, and this number is going to vary between 0 and plus or minus 1. So we're going to look about these in a minute. All right, and the direction can either be positive, where both variables increase together, or negative, as one data point goes up, the other data point comes down. So guess what these correlation coefficients are? The first one, the data points are all going up and they're really close together. The data points are small and they're going down, and these are totally crazy all over the place. The first one, if you guessed that they are a perfect positive correlation, you are correct. Second is a perfect negative correlation, and this one, there's no relationship at all, there's no correlation. All right. Okay. Now, when scatter plots reveal these correlations, all right, it gives us so much information. So again, this is the data that you are going to collect. Okay. Now, does height relate to shoe size? Okay, we know that that relates, but does it also correlate to your temperament reactivity score? All right, so this is just a question. Now, when you look at this data, do you see if there's a correlation? No, but when I create the scatter plot, boom, we see that there is some sort of correlation. It's a what type? Positive correlation between height and temperament. Interesting. So again, remember, you're going to find the correlation through the use of a scatter plot. Okay. Now, something I have to warn you about is that correlation is not causation. So just because you are tall, all right, that does not mean that you have a higher temperament, okay, such as our last example, right? That does not cause it. We just found that there is some sort of relationship, okay. So how about this one? People who floss less or who floss more have less risk of heart disease. Okay, so that's a correlation. Now, how do we know this? All right. Flossing, really, you're going to find this information through a survey. So, can we conclude that flossing might prevent heart disease? Or is it that people with heart healthy habits floss? So, if you're healthy and you eat good foods and, you exercise, does that also mean that you floss regularly? Okay, so we're just finding that there is a relationship between that flossing and heart disease. What about this one? People with bigger feet tend to be taller. All right, does that mean that having bigger feet causes the height? No, we don't know that. We just know that there's a relationship between the two. Okay. Now, information from a survey, I have to tell you, we also have to be very cautious when using this data because we have to presume that the respondents that are answering our survey are answering accurately and truthfully. That is one of the downfalls of using surveys. All right. Now, boom, here is a great example. If self-esteem correlates with depression, there's still numerous possible causal links. So you just have to remember that there's many different causes. It's just that we see that there is a relationship between self-esteem and depression. So low self-esteem could cause depression, but in reality, depression could cause low self-esteem. A distressing event or biological predisposition, okay, could cause low self-esteem and depression. There's a relationship between these because they're caused by a distressing event, or maybe it's just genetic. We don't know. Okay, so again, please remember that correlation is not causation. All right, and that correlation is just trying to find a relationship between two different factors. All right. All right, this is Miss Mason Explains Descriptive Methods and Correlations Part 2.